What would you do if the best part of your life was also the most painful? Would you still call it the best, or would you wish it had never happened? This is my story. It is about love, loss, and time. My name is Catherine. I am 66 years old. I live in Chicago, USA. Life is quiet now. My children are busy with their own families. My husband passed away some years ago. Some mornings I feel lonely, but when I think of my past, I do not only see sadness, I also see love. I also see joy. I see the boy who once made me feel alive. His name was Daniel. When I was 22, I was in college. I was young, full of dreams and full of hope. My parents cared about me deeply. Every evening, they asked about my day. We sat together at dinner, and I told them everything. I felt safe. I felt loved. Looking back, I see now that those dinners were true happiness. Before I take you deeper into this story, I ask you something important. Please subscribe to this channel, share this story with a friend, and write a comment. It helps me to bring you more stories. Let's continue. Then came Daniel. Even now his name feels heavy in my heart. He was 1 year younger than me, but he had something special. His smile could make the day brighter. I saw him many times at school, but I was shy. My heart beat fast when he was near. I wanted to speak, but I stayed quiet. I told myself, not today. Maybe tomorrow. One afternoon, something important happened. Daniel was standing near the library. A group of boys started to tease him. I do not know why, but I could not stay silent. I walked toward them. My voice was not strong, but I told them to stop. They looked at me, laughed, and walked away. Daniel looked at me then. His eyes stayed on me. That moment was the beginning. From that day, Daniel and I spoke more often. At first, it was just small words. A hello in the hallway, a thank you when I held a door. But soon our words grew longer. We began a talk between classes. Then we sat together in the cafeteria. Slowly, Daniel became part of my life. He called me his best friend. I smiled, but inside I felt more. Much more. I still remember the first time he laughed at my silly joke. His laugh stayed in my mind for days. I remember when he said, "Thank you, Catherine." His voice was soft, but to me it felt like music. Daniel was not just a boy to me. He was a feeling. He was the reason I wanted to wake up each morning. I never told him then. I carried my words in silence, but in my heart I whispered, "Daniel, you're the best part of my life." At first our talks were about school. He asked, "Did you finish your test?" or "How was class?" But I remembered every word. I went home and repeated his questions in my head. It felt like every word from him was a gift. Sometimes we sat on a bench after class. He told me about his family. His father worked in the military. He was strict but cared about him. His mother was kind and often worried for him. Daniel said he felt safe with her. I listened closely. I wanted to know everything about him. Then he asked me about my parents. I told him how they asked about my day. Each evening, I said they were my safe place too. He looked at me and said, "You are lucky, Catherine." I felt warmth inside me. I thought, yes, I am lucky. Lucky to sit here with you. He made me laugh often. One day I teased him, "You study so much, Daniel. Soon you will be the teacher, not the student." He laughed loudly and touched my shoulder lightly. That small touch stayed in my mind for weeks. That night I lay in bed and thought, this boy is the reason I feel alive, but I was also afraid. He called me his best friend. What if he never saw me as more? What if he liked another girl? My heart and mind fought each other. My mind said, do not hope too much. My heart said, one day he will see you too. One evening I tried to be brave. I asked softly, Daniel, do you have a girlfriend? He looked surprised. Then he smiled and said, no. My heart jumped with joy. My hands were shaking, but I smiled back and said, I just wanted to know. That night I could not sleep. I repeated his answer again and again. No girlfriend. That means maybe there is a chance. A few days later I asked again. This time I said, do you like someone? Daniel smiled. He shook his head and said, no, Catherine. No one. I almost cried with relief. I thought, he is free, I can dream now. I began to imagine the future. I dreamed of taking care of him, of making him laugh forever, of walking beside him in life. I wanted to tell him, but I waited. Then I heard news. His birthday was near. My friends spoke about it in the cafeteria. I thought, this is my chance. On his birthday, I will tell him. I made a plan. With the help of my friend Robert, I booked a small hall in the city. I bought balloons and lights. I saved all my money from a part-time job at a small cafe. I counted it again and again until I had just enough. I bought a cake. I even bought a simple ring. I told myself, this is not just a party. This is my heart. Tonight, he will know the truth. Robert spoke to Daniel about the party. Daniel agreed to come. He even asked if he could bring some of his friends. Robert said yes. I smiled and felt nervous, but I was excited. The night before his birthday, I could not rest. I held the small box with the ring in my hand. I whispered, this is not just gold. This is my love. I closed my eyes and saw his face. I imagined myself kneeling and saying, Daniel, will you be mine? In my dream, he smiled and said, yes. I told myself again, do not be afraid, Catherine. Tomorrow he will know. Tomorrow your life will begin. But I did not know what was waiting for me that night. The day of Daniel's birthday came. My hand shook from the moment I woke up. I looked at the small box with the ring. I held it and whispered, tonight, Daniel, you will know. My chest felt heavy with hope. I skipped breakfast because I could not eat. I reached the hall early. Robert was there too. Together we placed balloons and lights. We set the cake in the middle. It was not perfect, but it was full of love. I thought, this is not just a party. This is the truth of my heart. I walked around the room again and again. I checked the lights, the cake, the chairs. My mind was full of one picture. Daniel walking in, me stepping forward, me opening the box. I saw it in my head so many times that I felt it was real already. At 8:00 p.m., I stood near the door. I wanted to be the first to see him. My hands shook. My eyes stayed on the door. The hall was quiet. Then the door opened. Daniel walked in. His face was bright. He smiled. For a second, I felt all the pain of my life disappear. But then I saw he was not alone. Behind him came some of his friends. Among them was a boy I did not know well. His name was Andrew. Daniel smiled and said to everyone, this is Andrew. He is my boyfriend. We have been together for 3 years. We plan to marry. His words cut me like a knife. 3 years. All the time I dreamed he already belonged to someone else. I froze. I could not breathe. My hands moved to my pocket where the ring was. I wanted to throw it. I wanted to cry out loud, but I stayed silent. Then I saw Daniel lean close to Andrew. Right in front of everyone. They kissed. My body felt weak. I turned my face away. I thought, "It is over, Catherine. All your dreams are broken." I walked to the back of the hall. My eyes filled with tears, but I did not want anyone to see. Robert called my name, but I could not answer. My feet carried me outside. The cold air touched my face. My tears fell fast. I whispered, "You are a fool. Catherine, you thought love was waiting, but it was never yours." Later that night, Robert came to find me. He said, "Daniel does not know you. Plan the party. He thinks it was just a surprise from all of us." I closed my eyes. I said, "It does not matter anymore." But inside my heart screamed. The next day, Daniel came to me. His face was serious. He said, "Catherine, I heard the party was your plan. Why did you not tell me?" My lips shook. I forced a smile. I said, "It is fine, Daniel. Forget it." He looked at me and whispered, "I am sorry." I shook my head. "Do not be sorry, be happy. That is all that matters." But before I left, I could not stop myself. I said, "Daniel, be careful. Andrew is not what he seems." He frowned. "What do you mean?" he asked. I looked down and said softly, "You will understand one day." I walked away before my tears showed again. My heart said, "This is the end. He belongs to someone else. Accept it." But another thought stayed in my mind. Maybe one day the truth would come out. 1 week later, it did. Daniel saw Andrew in the city with another boy. He was close to him, his arms around him. Daniel's world broke that day. That evening, I found him sitting alone on a bench. His face was wet with tears. I sat beside him. I gave him my scarf. He looked at me and asked, "Why are you so kind to me, Catherine?" My throat closed. I wanted to say, "Because you are my life." But I only said, "Because you deserve better." He cried harder. He leaned on my shoulder. He whispered, "I thought he loved me. I thought he was my future." I held his hand. I said, "Some people only know how to hurt, but not everyone is like that." That night I went home and sat in silence. I looked at the small ring again. I whispered, "Not today. Maybe one day." In the days after, Daniel tried to act strong, but I could see his pain. He often sat quietly. His eyes looked far away. I wanted to take his pain, but I could not. I could only sit near him. One evening he said, "Catherine, I feel foolish." I gave him 3 years. He destroyed it in one moment. I looked at him and said, "Being faithful is not foolish. Believing in love is not foolish. The foolish one is the person who did not value it." He wiped his tears. He whispered, "Then why does it hurt so much?" I said, "Because your love was real." From then, I became the one he called when he felt lonely. He said, "Can you walk with me? I do not want to be alone." I always said yes. I listened to his questions, his pain, his confusion. He asked, was I not enough? Why did he do this? I never gave empty answers. I only said, "You are enough." He was not the right one. Weeks passed. His tears slowly turned into small smiles again. Sometimes he laughed at my silly jokes. Sometimes he teased me for being too quiet. One day he said, "Catherine, you are strange." You sit with me in silence, but still I feel better. I looked at him and said, sometimes. Silence is the answer. He smiled, but his eyes stayed soft. Another time we went to see a movie. He whispered, this is the first time I laughed without force. My heart almost broke with joy. I wanted to cry, but I only smiled. Another day, we ate at a small cafe. I spilled my tea by mistake. He laughed and said, see, you make mistakes too. I said, yes, but I will never make the mistake of letting you feel alone. He grew quiet. He looked at me with soft eyes. One evening we sat on a bench. He turned to me. His eyes were wet. He asked, Catherine, can I ask you something? I said, yes. He said, do you still love me? My heart stopped. My eyes filled with water. I whispered, yes, Daniel, I always did. I always will. He covered his face with his hands. He cried. Then he held my hand tightly. He whispered, I was blind. I was looking for love in the wrong place. All this time it was here, right in front of me. I could not speak. I felt too full. He leaned against me and said, promise me you will not leave. I said, as long as I live, you will not be alone. He hugged me. That hug was not just comfort, it was love. For the first time, I felt my pain lift. I whispered, this is the best moment of my life. After that night, when Daniel asked me if I still loved him, my life felt new. The heavy stone inside me was gone. I smiled more. I walked lighter. Every time he held my hand, I felt warmth. I told myself, this is how love is meant to feel. We spent more time together. Daniel waited for me after class. Sometimes he teased me. Catherine, you walk too slow, he said. I laughed and answered, I walk slow so I can stay beside you longer. He rolled his eyes, but I saw his cheeks turn red. One weekend we went to see a movie. Halfway through he leaned close. He whispered, I never thought I could laugh again, but you make me laugh. My throat closed. I whispered back, that is all I want. To see you smile. Another time we went to a small diner. He ate a piece of cake and said, Catherine, I feel safe with you. I do not need to pretend. His words filled my eyes with tears, but I forced a smile. I said, then let me be your safe place always. He looked at me in silence. I saw his answer in his eyes. We started to talk about the future. One evening, Daniel asked, do you ever think about marriage? My heart raced. I said, yes. Every day, and in every thought, it is you. He pressed my hand and whispered, maybe one day it will be real. I began to dream openly. I imagined our wedding, our life, our children. I worked extra hours at the cafe. I wanted to give him everything, though he never asked. I even bought flowers with my last coins. When I gave them to him, he laughed. Why spend money on me? He asked. I said, because you are worth more than all the money in the world. He grew quiet and held the flowers close, but life does not always move the way we wish. One evening, Daniel's face was heavy. He said, I need to tell you something. I feared his words. He looked down. My father has been transferred. In 3 weeks we are moving to Europe. I do not know if we will return. His words broke me. I whispered, leaving. He nodded with tears. Yes. My father is strict. He will not allow letters or calls. Catherine, I do not want to lose you, but I cannot stop this. I held his hand tight. Even if the world takes you far, my love will stay. My heart will always be with you, he cried and whispered. And my heart will stay with you. The days after felt like borrowed time. We walked together. We laughed even when our eyes were wet. He once said, I do not want to go, but I have no choice. I hugged him and whispered, then let this love live inside us, even if distance separates us. On the morning he left, I went to the train station. He stood with his family holding his bag. Our eyes met. Everything else disappeared. He waved softly, his face full of tears. I wanted to run to beg him to stay, but I only whispered, Goodbye, Daniel, I will never forget you. The train moved. He pressed his hand to the window. I pressed mine in the air, knowing he did the same. Then he was gone. After he left, my world felt empty. I went through my days, but my heart was not there. Years passed. I studied, I worked, my parents grew older. After some time, I met a kind man named Edward. He cared for me and made me smile. I told myself, you must move forward. We married. We had 2 children. They filled the house with noise and love. Edward gave me years of care. But a small part of me deep inside still whispered another name. I never told Edward. I did not want to hurt him. He gave me a family. He gave me strength. But late at night when he slept, I sometimes thought of Daniel. Time passed quickly. My children grew up. They made their own lives. Edward grew sick. I stayed beside him until his last day. I whispered, Thank you for everything. You gave me a life. He smiled weakly and closed his eyes. My tears fell as I kissed his hand. After Edward, the house felt cold again. My children visited sometimes, but not enough. Many mornings I sat in silence. I thought of all the years. I thought of the boy who once promised, my heart will stay with you. Then one afternoon, something I never expected happened. I went to a small park in Chicago. I sat on a bench to watch the birds. As I looked around, I saw an old man walking slowly. His hair was gray, his steps were careful. But his eyes, something about his eyes stopped my breath. I stared, my hands shook. Could it be? For days, I returned to the park. I watched from a distance. My heart said, It is him, it must be Daniel. But I was afraid. I did not speak. Then one afternoon as I fed the birds, someone stopped near me. I looked up. He was standing there. His eyes met mine. Time stopped. He asked softly, Are you Catherine? Tears filled my eyes. My lips trembled. I whispered, Are you Daniel? He covered his mouth and began to cry. I stood up and held him. After 40 years, we were in each other's arms again. He said, I have been searching for you. My wife passed away years ago. I was alone. I wanted to know if you still remembered me. I held his hand and whispered, Remember you. I never forgot, not one day. He cried again. He whispered, Neither did I. From that day, we met again and again. We laughed like children. We spoke of the years we lost. He said, I used to imagine you. I wondered if you were happy. I answered, even with family and life. My heart always remembered you. One evening, he said, We are old now. But when I sit with you, I feel young again. I placed my hand on his. I said, Love does not count years. It only counts the time we share. Soon he asked me, Do you believe we still have a future? My eyes filled with tears. Yes, Daniel. You are my future. Whether we have days or years, I want to spend them with you. He smiled. I lost you once. I will not lose you again. Then he asked me to marry him. My hands shook, my heart felt alive again. I whispered, yes. We married simply without a crowd. We did not need much. We only needed each other. When I looked at him that day, I thought, true love never dies. It only waits. Now when I wake in the morning, I no longer feel alone. I turn and see Daniel beside me. I whisper, thank you, God. You gave me back the love I thought was lost. And I can say with peace now this is the best part of my life. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe, share, and comment. Your support helps me bring you more true and emotional English stories.